Alright, Gabriel here. And first off, if you are indeed a new player to the game, welcome to one of the most fun experiences you're ever going to have in gaming. Welcome to Monster Train. Sure, there will be some frustrations along the way, but hopefully I can help you smooth those over here. So this is a quick guide, hopefully quick, geared toward the sort of newer to even brand new player. Especially with the Switch release, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of you. So I'm going to go over just a very straightforward strategy that can help you have a game plan as you're learning this game. There are a lot of different strategies that work in this game, but why not outline just kind of a very simple one that can get you started and not have you just sort of endlessly losing, as it does happen a lot when you're kind of learning this game, right? Why don't we start you off with some wins? So let's go ahead and bring it down to, well, first let's, if you're a Switch player, you come already with a new DLC enabled. Just to simplify things, let's go ahead and disable that. And we'll bring it down to Covenant 1 here. And so the first clan combo that you're going to unlock, well, it's not even unlocked, it's just unlocked by default, is the Hellhorned and Awoken combo. And once you win the game once, or I don't even know if you have to win it, but you'll basically, the first time you get your first unlock, you're going to unlock Awoken as a main clan. And I'm actually going to suggest that we start with that, because the strategy I'm outlining here is the tank and spank, shall we call it. The idea is you're just going to have one good tank and one good backliner, the spanker, shall we say. And I actually think Hellhorn Prince is a bit tough to learn the game with, because he's actually one of the more complicated champions to play correctly. He requires slay triggers in a lot of cases, or just knowledge of a lot of different cards and what goes well with him. Whereas the Sentient really doesn't require that much huge thought to play, particularly if you're going to play either the spikes or the cultivating variant, especially the spikes. And we might just start spikes if we see it. So we'll go ahead and just start with the restore and torch variant here, because that's what you should start with after you get your first unlock. And let's go ahead and get into it here. So you always have, starting at Covenant 1, you're going to have randomized cards here, 2 from each clan at the uncommon, or the common tier, which is going to be this white mark here. These type of cards only show in the first 2 ring rewards, so that's something to keep note of, but you don't really need to know that for now. And then you get 1 at the uncommon tier of your main clan. It's completely random what you get. Makes the runs interesting, but can really make some variance in how the fights start out here. Then you'll also get to see every single boss that is ahead of you. For the purposes of this, I think we'll really just only take note of the version of Seraph you're facing. You're going to face 1 of 4 different Seraph variants. And really, They do a lot of different things. I have a separate guide if you want to check it out on my channel, which is just talking about how to specifically prepare for the Seraphs. But one thing to note, in particular, if you are going to do the strategy with Sentient and use spikes, if you see Seraph the Chaste here, you might not want to do spikes. That becomes pretty tough, because Seraph the Chaste removes all of your buffs, and Spike is counted as a buff. And if you're ever curious, forget which Seraph you're facing, you can always just hover up here and it'll tell you. And it'll give you, a brief outline of what they do. Seraph the Diligent here is going to devour spells, so we'll try to prepare accordingly for that. So we do see Bristling. I think if I was learning the game, when I did learn the game, this was my favorite path to go. Just because it's very simple, right? You just place it down, it has a lot of health, it's a good tank, and it just has spikes and kills things. There's not much you need to necessarily think about there. Now the artifacts, you're not going to really know. There's so many artifacts, you're just going to have to get experience with what you like here. Now, I know from experience I would want Ashes of the Fallen here, but I'm actually going to take Vapor Funnel, because I recommend as a new player generally taking this one because it will save you a lot of pyre health. Like this basically, the -5 doesn't mean too much. The big thing here is when they get to the pyre room, instead of them getting a free hit, you get a free hit before they get their hits. In a lot of cases, this just kills them before they even get a hit. So let's go ahead and go Vapor Funnel here. So just to iterate what happens there, you pick a champ, you're going to get offered, there's 3 champ paths per champ, but you only get offered 2. So, you're not always going to see spikes. So, but I would generally say explosive is very powerful, but I might shy away from using it while you're trying to learn the game because it is the more complicated Sentient path, and then you'll get just any sort of artifact. Now, these trials, it's up to you if you want to take them or not. It's a lot of rewards that you can get from them, but with experience, you'll start to understand which ones are good or bad for whatever deck you have. The nice thing about Sentient, though, I think at least as far as Ring 1 is concerned, you can almost take all of these. And especially the Mark of Invasion, this just puts a bunch of guys on each floor. Our Vapor Funnel will naturally just kill all of them. So I generally recommend that you just go top whenever possible. By the way, so there's 3 floors here. For this strategy, I wanted to outline a strategy that really just focuses on one floor. Just to keep things simple. I think you might as well not make the game more complicated than it needs to be while you're learning it. You can learn all the complicated stuff later. Now, the neat thing here is we have this Vapor Funnel. I want to point this out because I wouldn't do this otherwise. I would just go here if I didn't have this, but since I have this, like I said, we get a free shot. These guys only have 1 health. We're just going to let them march up. So instead of doing my usual top floor strategy, let's go ahead and just set up at the bottom here. That way we're only taking 2 damage versus like 15 damage. And we can play this if we want. It will hurt our draw the next turn, but it will give us 1 energy for each turn of the battle. So if you're ever curious to see what you're getting each turn, like right here, the 3 signifies that I'm getting 3 Ember each turn. I will have 4 Ember per turn after I play that. I'm getting 5 cards drawn each turn down here. For 1 turn, I'm going to draw just 3 if I play this, which I am going to do. So now you see this changed to 3, and this is now at 4. This will remain at 4 for the rest of this fight, and this will go back to 5 after the next turn. So let's go ahead and... when you start, you'll only have your champ and stewards as units. So you don't have what's called a banner unit yet, and we'll get to that after this fight, but typically Ring 1, if you're doing the tank and spank, your champ will either be a tank or a spank, and then the stewards have to fill the other role. So in this case, Sentient's a tank, so we'll just have a steward sitting back, kind of being our damage dealer. Now I have options here. I could put him down and he'll just die. I'm probably going to do that because the thing is, even though he's not going to do anything, the nice thing here is once I draw these 11 cards, I'll reshuffle the entire deck. And I don't really want to see these stewards after I reshuffle. They're not really that powerful of a unit. And I'd rather just find the other cards in my deck, like Restore, Steel Enhancer, Torches, even the Welder Helpers, for example. Now, Torch is a nice one. It has, you can shoot your own units with it, and you can shoot any other unit. So here, I can just bypass all these guys and get this collector. If you have any justification for getting the collectors, you always should, because they're only going to sit there for 1 turn unless you daze them. But then they're gone and you won't get the gold. But if you kill them, boom, 50 gold. And gold's good. We'll put these stewards here. No sense having them take damage here, because again, they're just going to... I should actually slow down the speed here. So maybe I'll go on the 2nd speed. So just to show what's going to happen here, this guy keeps getting the spikes damage, because the spikes, if they hit you, it's kind of like Diablo or whatever, Thorns, or Iron Maiden. They get damaged as they attack me, and he'll put in 8 damage, but he's going to heal, so that's kind of the math that goes on there. 18 minus 5 is 13. So let's see what happens here. We put our damage in, he gets damaged, I put more damage in, he gets healed. These guys, they don't get to hit me because of this Vapor Funnel. Otherwise, they would have all hit me before I shoot them. We'll speed it up here. So this guy is going to probably get some damage in. I only have 15 here. I can't really hurt him enough. It happens. It's not uncommon to just have to take pyro damage a lot of the time, right? Let's go ahead and give our Sentient here some armor. And I'm going to do a little trick here that's nice with this combo. The imps are really nice, especially like, Welder Helper you can put in the back. That way it puts the armor on the front. But it can get a little awkward with the pip's face because it's like, I want to put another one down, right? Like, I want to get more armor to get ready for the boss. This is where Torch is nice. It's not just something that's useful for killing the enemy. It's useful for killing your own dudes, too. So now I have the space to get even more armor. Look at that. Now I can put this heal anywhere I want. I want to try to prepare for the boss. That way this guy never gets a chance to get to the pyro room. This guy will get up there. He'll hit me once, no big deal, he only does 2 damage. But if I kill the boss, this guy's going to be on this floor next turn, and he just won't be able to make it to the pyro room if I just kill the boss this next turn. Which at this amount of armor, yeah, we're definitely going to do that. Now another thing to note, generally your backmost unit, since they're going to get the most hits in a Relentless round, remember Relentless means they'll keep attacking until either side is dead, you might as well put the damage on the backmost unit because they're gonna get the most hits in, right? Let's assume a scenario where I actually lose Sentient and this. I'd rather have this one getting the damage, that way they can just, make as much damage as possible. But they'll be dead here, so not too shabby. So we get that extra gold from the trial. And then here, here's where you're really going to have to just start experimenting, because you're new to the game. You're not going to know what the strengths and weaknesses of all these cards, but just try to have a reason that you pick a card, or also a reason that you skip. Don't be afraid to skip if you just look at your deck and you're like, I basically have better cards than this. It's no sense adding a card that's worse, right? In this case, the Glimmer, you could argue it's a bit redundant with our spikes. Our 10 spikes clears out a lot of stuff in an AoE fashion, so to speak. However, Glimmer would prevent some of the dudes in the back that have pretty high damage from attacking me, so Glimmer's never going to be bad. I can tell you this one, like, out of these 3, if I were to generalize, I would say a Glimmer is almost always more valuable than Restoration, Detonation, and Sting. Restoration, Detonation's okay, but it's kind of situational. It's like you're depending on your dudes actually being damaged for it to work, to actually get its value. And Sting is just sort of just this card that doesn't do a whole lot, but it also doesn't cost you anything, so it's like, it's not really that great, I think. But Glimmer's great. It's AoE. You can add spell damage to it, and it'll be really nice. I think we'll take the Glimmer here. But particularly, you Glimmer, and another card, Vent, that's another one, AoE, very similar to Glimmer. Very similar in that it wants to have plus spell damage to really shine. We could take it. Hidden Passage I would normally take. You can use that to overstack your floors. You have a pip limit. Each card, like our champ, has 2 pip here. All of our train stewards have 2 pip. The Welder Helper here has 1 pip, that yellow mark. We have 5 pip by default for each floor. You can actually go over that limit with a Hidden Passage. It ascends a unit. So let's say I put 5 pip worth a unit on the top floor. I can use Hidden Passage to move them up. In fact, you know what? Why don't we just add that just to show it in action? I don't know if it's too complicated for a guide like this, but I might as well show the interaction. And we have a choice here. I would like to get plus spell damage on the Merchant of Magic. Now, I generally say on this ring, too, you're always going to get a setup like this where you have a Merchant of Steel and a Merchant of Magic. There will always be a banner with the Steel. Sometimes there's a banner with the Magic, sometimes there's gold. Now, banner units, we're going to talk about this right now because they're a very important part to the game. Keep in mind we're a tank and Spank. Right now we only have the tank, and we need a Spank. I'm going to go the Merchant of Steel side here just to outline what I'm typically looking for from a Merchant of Steel. So always check the Merchant before you choose the unit, because once you click that banner, you can't back out and check the spell shop again. You have to make your choice. So it's nice to know what we have available to us here. So I see that I have a Heartstone, which is 25 health. I love this as far as like cheap upgrades go. Battlestone is okay, but I just find generally 25 health is more useful than 5 damage and 10 health. And then Frenzy Stone, this is one that is, let's be honest, it's overpowered. You're always happy to see this, especially since we're trying to upgrade our Spanker, right? Giving them just straight up another attack is really nice. So let's see what we get here. Alright, so I could take either of these. Things to keep note of. Take a look at their pip and ember cost. Make sure that those are within your budget, so to speak. So, you know, Sentience 2 space. If I do take the 3 space Alpha Fiend, I can't put a Welder Helper on the floor with us, so that's something to keep note of. That would be a downside of taking the larger pip unit here. Whereas this one, I can still, you know, put down my stuff. Now, I will say either of these units will work just fine for the Spank roll, especially since we saw that multi-strike. I'm going to choose Rail Beater because I generally would say that Rail Beater is just a better unit than Alpha Fiend. But what we want now is to find some damage buffs. What we don't have in this deck right now is any actual damage scaling. Now I could hold out for another upgrade, or I could just add health here. Keep in mind he already gets 30 armor, so he might not need this health. I'm probably just going to hold out for maybe either possibly another multi-strike or a quick. Either one could be fine. So right now, we can purge cards, or just hold the gold. I'm looking through here and I'm like, well, I really don't need too many stewards at this point, so why don't we just remove one and then call that good. Now let's go on to the next battle. I generally like to take these trials for unit drafts if I can. True, it's a bit of extra damage coming in, but we've got a good tank, and even our backliner, our Spanker, actually is pretty tanky too. You don't always get that luxury. Usually your backliner might look like something like this, but no armor, right? But that's the nice thing about Rail Beater is he can actually be a tank or a Spank. Or both. You can just have a bunch of Rail Beaters on a floor, that's fine too. We don't need another unit though. So maybe we don't take this, right? I already am pretty committed to this unit as my backliner, so why don't we just not take this trial? Why not? Why take a risk if you don't have to, right? So we do. I lied. We do have some scaling. We have these steel enhancers. They're okay. Generally, I want something that hits a little harder though, and we'll just play all this out. They're dying here, so I could put him on either floor. Doesn't really matter. Luckily, we get the right floor here, and he'll just naturally kill the collector, so I don't have to spend any resources here to kill that. And I kind of went against my advice of going top again. The reason I'm going bottom here is these reconcilers, they'll keep like shuffling scourges into my deck if I let them live, so I want to kill them like basically immediately down here. So let's just go ahead and heal our guys. There's not really much else we need to do there. We'll play that Pyrogrow again. Now, since we took the 2-pip unit, we have the luxury of doing this, and I'm even just going to preemptively clear this out, because I know I can check my draw deck. Even though I'm only drawing 3, there's only 3 cards left in my draw pile, and one of them is Welder Helper. So, why not just clear out the pip and get ready to put that extra armor on, right? So, boom, we got him. Welder Helper, the 1 damage Welder Helper got the kill there, just for the record. Okay, well, these aren't really what I was looking for. I would have much preferred to see a razor sharp edge. You can always check your logbook at any time if you're curious about what cards are available to you. In Awoken, at the common tier, that's usually what you're seeing in those first 2 ring rewards. There's this card, Razor Sharp Edge. That's going to be one of your best offensive scaling type cards. It does have the slight downside of it'll take 2 health off your unit when you play it, but that's usually not too big of an issue. The big advantage here is that you get 10 attack. See, when you compare it to like Steel Enhancer or Sharpen, which are our current choices, you can see how just massively better Razor Sharp Edge is. But you're not always going to get offered exactly what you want, so you got to make do with what you have. So we have a choice between Sharpen and Steel Enhancer here. I'm not a huge fan of either card. I don't think they are super high impact. I like to add high impact cards to my deck. But since we do really need some scaling, I'm going to do Steel Enhancer. If you look between them, like, you just get more out of Steel Enhancer for the Ember cost. For 0, I'm getting 3 health and 3 damage, whereas with Sharpen I had to spend 2 just to get a measly 4 damage and 4 spikes. So we'll take another Steel Enhancer here. Okay, this is a great unit. I'm really happy to see this. Fledgling Imp is a incredibly good card for scaling. And if we look at our map, we're probably going to want to hit any Merchant of Steel that we can to add Endless onto it. Because if it's endless, then it can keep coming back, and I can keep getting that rage. As a one-time rage, it's okay, but really to get the full value, you want to find an endless on these imps, that way you can just keep playing them over and over again, and you'll get a ton of rage to your floor. Rage is a very good offensive scaling mechanic. You'll notice there it's basically 2 damage per stack of rage, so 5 rage means I get 10 damage to everybody on my floor. Granted, yes, it does decay once per turn, but that's really not too big of a deal. I wouldn't let that shy you away from Rage. Rage is pretty legit. So we could go either route here. I kind of want to save some money for this Merchant of Steel coming up, because like I said, I would like to have chances to find Endless if I can. If not Endless, just another chance for another multi-strike would be great too on my Rail Beater. So let's save our gold here. Instead of going the route that makes us spend money, let's just get a free artifact. Oh, there you go. We can just take this. We could take this too. I mean, these are both very good artifacts, but as I said, the rage decays per turn. Well, not if you have Collection of Tails, so let's just do that. That actually makes the Endless a little less needed on Fledgling Imp. I'll still want it, but at least now that rage is permanent. And let's go ahead and check this. See, this is interesting. These are both really good backliners. I would argue probably better than Rail Beater. But since I already have the multi-strike found on this Rail Beater, I'll probably just stick with it for now. Husk Hermits and NSMO, for the record though, amazing units. If you see them, they've served the backline role very, very well. Alright, so in general, I don't think any of these 3 spikes are that good. At least, you wouldn't want this outside of a melting build, the Waxen Spike. It's good in a melting build, but Burnout is another topic for another time. I would not take this in this combo. And the Spike of the Hellhorn, it could be okay, I guess. It's really not that, like, again, it's not that high impact of a card. I think, though, that we are hurting for scaling right now, and we do have the Collection of Tails. I think we can take this. There's a certain, like, gauging you have to do of, like, how good your offense is. And if I had, you know, going back to the logbook, we'll go to the common tier for Hellhorn. If I particularly had this card here, Ritual of Battle, I would be pretty fine to not take the spike there, because look how much rage that adds. It's 10 rage. I mean, that's more rage than you're going to get out of that spike, plus it doesn't consume, so I can keep playing it over and over again. Ritual of Battle's super good card to have for damage scaling. Another nice thing about Ritual of Battle, I was hoping we would see Ritual of Battle, because I really wanted to talk about it and how powerful it is, but we didn't see it. But, you know, just to really, one of the biggest, just awesome and powerful things about the Monster Train compared to other card games is how much control you have over shaping what a card does for you. So, you know, the 3 Ember here, it's pretty expensive. But the nice thing about Monster Train is every Merchant of Magic, we didn't visit any on this run so far because we didn't really have good reason to, but if I had a Ritual of Battle, I would have had pretty good reason to hit the Merchant of Magic up, because you can just reduce the Ember on this. You can spend 20 gold on an Ember upgrade, which basically reduces it down to 2 Ember, and you can re-roll, spend another 20 Ember or 20 gold Ember upgrade on it, and now it's at 1 Ember. So now you have this Ritual of Battle at 1 Ember, pretty much guaranteed as long as you have enough gold going into a Merchant of Magic, because you'll always see the Ember upgrade, right? And at 1 cost, 10 rage, that's 20 damage to the unit. That's a pretty good buff. You know, that's a really, really good buff. It's one of the better, just solid damage scaling cards in the game, but just something to keep in note. Now we can finally show more of what I typically do, which is to set up top. The reasons I say set up top typically is, like, if you look down here, a lot of units just enter with their own rage, and if you set up top, they lose stacks of rage by the time they get there. But B, it just also gives you more time to find cards to scale out your floor. You know, you generally have a certain setup that you want. You want to, like, you know, you have your base card, but you're usually wanting to find cards like Spike, Ritual of Battle, Steel Enhancer, and place them on your units. Or even your tank might want some stuff, right? If Sharpen was a thing, I'd probably want to put Sharpen on the Sentient, right? Add more spikes to it. Now, we might as well use this Glimmer right here and kill them all. No sense taking damage that we don't need to, and then we'll just do a little bit of chip damage there. So I think we can afford to do this. We'll get the extra Ember next turn. Let's go ahead and put that guy there. And let's start buffing up our backline guy. And we'll just put these stewards down. I'll usually just put the stewards down unless I have huge reasons to save them. Like I said, once you draw back through your deck, you just don't really want to see the stewards because they're not that high value. Actually, you know what I can do here, though? I can demonstrate the power of Hidden Passage. So, see how I'm at my pip limit? If I had a unit here, I couldn't place another unit down. However, if I have a unit down here, I can just do that. Look at that. I'm over the limit now. So, you know, a steward, not that valuable, but sometimes you can get a pretty valuable thing. Like, what if I had another rail beater, right? I could just get another rail beater behind him. So, you know, pretty powerful stuff. At this point, now that our pip... Now, there's a downside to this, though. The reason I say it didn't really fit into this deck is because we have imps. Now I can't actually play my fledgling imp, so in the interest of showing you that mechanic, I've kind of screwed myself out of something here, but that's fine. We're still going to win, because luckily Covenant 1, you get a lot of leeway, let's put it that way. So now, see, I can't play this guy down. That's why I shouldn't, you know, if I was actually trying to be efficient, I wouldn't have done that move. I was just showing you how to move him up. But you know what we can do anyway? Let's go ahead and just build out a floor here real quick. I mean, this is going to be a lot of damage. Why not, right? And we can just put that there. It doesn't really matter. This floor here is probably dead, but you know what? Hey, we got a guy that does some good damage. Let's bring him on up, right? And let's go ahead. Now I did say generally you should put the damage on the backmost guy. You could still argue for that here, except we got a guy that has multi-strike, right? So I actually gain more overall damage from putting on him. So this is an exception to the rule. Like, here I would say you put the damage on the dude that just has more benefit from it, right? And similar here, we're going to keep putting it just on the multi-striker. Why not? And we'll try to mitigate a little bit of this damage. And even though he was at full health, remember the regen will proc after everything, so I saved myself 1 health there. Sometimes it's relevant. Keep buffing up that guy, keep healing that guy, put in the other little heal there. We should be fine here. We've got a decent amount of damage on our boy here. Yeah, whatever. If you see the X marks, you should generally probably just hit end turn. There's a few bosses where playing out your cards can actually kill you. Ooh, that's a pretty powerful one. I would say if you have any sort of imp build going on, Transcendent's pretty much auto pick. So we'll take that for sure. Let's see. I mean, these are all great units too. Steelworker, if I was doing a build that really focused on Hidden Passage over stacking up, it's a great one to have on the floor because it just sort of passively scales. Generally, if you do the overstack build, you want stuff that kind of passively scales versus like with an imp-based build. I wouldn't say we're necessarily imp-based at the moment, but imps are a lot of our power, so overstacking a floor kind of hurts us, as you saw there. So we'll probably just skip these. Keep in mind, you're free to take them, but we're really trying to outline a specific strategy here, which is just focus on one single floor, have one tank, one spank. Now, if I want extra pip, I could do that. I mean, I could fit extra imps on the floor. If I want an extra ember, I could do that. But what I'm going to say is, if you want a general rule to follow, draw is almost always a safe bet. You may or may not get much value out of extra pip or ember. If it's unclear to you which one to take, always default to draw. So let's go ahead and do that anyway, because draw is always going to be useful. Just having, like, you dig through your deck faster, you have a larger hand of options to choose from. There's nothing bad about that, right? It's only good. Now you could make an argument here that I could simply just Hellvent the fledgling imp. If I go this route, I'm looking for basically just multi-strike and endless as my big upgrades. That's 2 of 4, so it's possible I just don't get them, right? I could just get large stone and quick and be sad, and this was kind of a wasted route. So this route has some variance in whether it will be good or just completely useless to me, because I really don't want quick and large stone. Whereas if I go here, I'm basically guaranteed value, right? If I needed the health, it's there. I don't, but I get the Hellvent. That's always going to get, there's no variance there, right? Like, I know exactly what I can Hellvent. And the Vortex is also pretty good. Thinning out your deck is always nice. I want to get rid of these Stewards. I probably want to get rid of the Restores. They're not really good for this deck. And then I'm just getting to my other stuff more often. So let's go ahead and just do that. We don't have to get endless on our imps. We can just simply Hellvent. Either the fledgling imp or even the transcendent might not be horrible. I'll do the fledgling imp. The thing about transcendent is it really wants a lot of imps played to get its full effect, and having it be Hellvented right now might be a little bit premature. I'd rather it just sort of get 2 fledgling imps worth of stuff. That's why we're going to duplicate that fledgling imp. Let's go ahead and just get rid of stewards. Stewards are generally a pretty safe one to remove. They're not really doing much for a lot of decks. And yet you can split between your choices here. Like, we might even want to do that with cultivating. You don't necessarily gain a whole lot by going all in on spikes. You do get the 40 spikes at the max turn. So I actually am just going to, well, the cultivating could screw us. The thing is, like, cultivate, when he gets attack, he gives health and damage to the lowest health unit, which, if you think about it, in the case of an imp, could really screw us if we don't have a torch that turn to kill the imp. So we'll just stick with bristling. Let's keep it simple. KISS. I'm the S, not you guys. So Heaven's Seal, this is a tough one. You want to think twice before doing this one. Especially like these guys, they gain attack on resolve. They're going to do a lot of damage to our pyre if they get through, and they'll be getting through at full health because of Heaven's Seal. I would say with Heaven's Seal, default to off. I'm going to keep it on though, because I'm pretty confident in my ability to scale out my damage and kill them. And this is another great reason that you want to go top. Like, bottom here, I probably wouldn't be able to kill them, right? But up top, now I have time to scale. We're going to put as much Ember there as we can justify. And great, we got the fledgling imp. That's what we like to see. I'm actually just going to play this guy out to power up our Transcendent. Keep in mind, the way Transcendent works is it repeats all summon effects that were triggered in the battle. So the fact that I played the Wilderhopper means when I do end up playing Transcendent, whenever that may be, also unfortunate about the Collector, but hey, it happens, right? I'll get the armor when I play Transcendent. And I just don't really want to recycle into the Wilderhopper in particular. So we are oh, that is not what I wanted to play. Well, hey, mistakes happen, right? So ideally what I wanted to do there was not restore. I wanted to torch that guy, but now that I've used an Enver, I can't actually play Transcendent, which is fine. We'll just wait and draw back into him. I actually couldn't have played him anyway, it looks like, because I needed another torch. So it's a misplay that doesn't actually end up really hurting us that much. So we'll just want to torch that fledgling imp out when we can. Like right now. And I don't know. We got torches coming up. I think we can probably just put this guy down here. It's fine. And let's go ahead and keep putting the damage on our backliner. Gotta heal your frontliner. Nice thing about Awoken is they typically have a lot of good heals. I don't have many right now, but we might find them. And now we can make our Transcendent play. It's probably time to do that. So you'll notice, like, I'm at this right now. When I play this, I'll get every single imp's effect that was in the battle. So boom. Now I've got a bunch of armor, a bunch of damage. I'm clearing the floor. I wasn't before, but now I am. So we're happy. We're going to crush it. Now there's a few bosses like this, you can really mess with them. I don't know if there's a few things we can do here. I could Hidden Passage is really nice to use on the enemies in cases like this. I could use this to move this guy up and out of the way. That way when he comes up, he's not going to have this guy in front. I could also, you'll notice this guy gains attack on resolve. So he's going to gain 5 attack after this, then he'll go here, then he'll gain 5 more attack, go to here. But hey, if I move him up right now, he's not going to gain, he's only going to gain 1 stack of 5 attack versus 2. So by doing this, I'm actually taking 5 damage off of him. See, he's still at 6. And not only that, I also killed the dude in the process, essentially, by doing that, because he was stuck down there. These bosses always freeze the floor as they move up, right? So, long story short, we basically took out the dude and took 5 damage off of him simply by using Hidden Passage. Now, trust me, you don't want to use it here. If I did that, he would come right up and kill me, but we are A-okay now. He just didn't have enough damage to take us, and we had plenty of damage to destroy him. Now here's an interesting thing. I mean, it's like, I have a lot of gold already, but Channel Heart is good if you have stings. I just don't have stings right now. You could probably argue that's worth taking in case I do get stings, but at this point in the game, there's really only 2 ways I would get stings. One is Preserve Thorns, which is a card, and the other is an artifact that basically gives me a sting each turn. Now that's tough to really know when you're a new player, right? So, you know, if you really are interested, you can always check your logbook and see. Now, it isn't really spelled out in the game, but keep in mind, I can't find sting at this point in the game because it is the common tier, you know, rarity common. All of these cards with the white dot in the middle, they do not show up after the second ring in the game. So it's the second fight, basically. You only see uncommons and rares. So at the uncommon tier, we don't really see anything with spikes other than Preserve Thorns, right? That will add 3 stings to my hand. And that is a good card, by the way. I'll probably take it if I see it, but I'm not going to take this just on the off chance that I do get that. I'd rather just take 25 gold. Now we got some pretty good cards here. I don't really typically actually think Wildwood Custodian is that good. It's one that seems good on paper, but in practice doesn't actually get you much. Invigorating Solution's always a safe pick. It's, it just gives you a bunch of draw. As we've said, draw is good. It's just a one-time, like, play it, and then the next turn, you just have a full hand, basically. Awake is okay. This one, I would say, is very similar to Ritual of Battle, where you basically want to get it cost reduced, and then it's pretty good, but at 3 Ember, it's a little overcosted. As I said, though, we're pretty good on offense. Our defense is a bit lacking. It's time to start really focusing on the tank and making sure the tank isn't going to die. Ooh, these are amazing. So, I mean, these are all just really good. Impish Scholar, in this deck, I probably wouldn't take it. The only 2 consumables we have are Spike of the Hellhorn and Pyrogrow. Pyrogrow I don't really want to see back necessarily. Like, I'm not that starved for Ember, and I don't really want it to cost me that much draw over and over again. I'm fine with it as a one-time play. And Spike the Hellhorn, as I said, it's okay. It's not that great of a card though. So Impish Scholar's probably not going to get taken here. You know, what it does is, you know, you put it down, it just brings back a consumable. Imp in a Box is always pretty good. That could really be nice to power up our Transcendent. And Important Work is obviously always going to be very good for imps. The only thing right now is, since I don't have an imp on Endless, and I may not end up with it, it really depends on what I find at these Merchant of Steels. I'm likely to find it, because I do plan on hitting all three of these up, if I can. And, you know, that's three 50-50s essentially I have to lose in order to not find Endless, but it's not completely out of the question. I think I'm just going to take Imp in a Box here. The thing is, this will power up my Transcendent, if anything. And it's a little, you know, it's a little bit variant in what it will give you, but in general, it's going to probably give you some extra scaling or just some extra damage in the form of like Molting Imp or something. And I think I still want to get one more Fledgling Imp, if I'm being... I could get one more Fledgling Imp, or I could get one more Transcendent. Either one is pretty decent. Let's get rid of the final Steward here, and these restores really aren't healing us for much, so let's go ahead and remove them. The restores are mainly just good when you have regeneration procs, or rejuvenation procs to take advantage of. So I think I could either Hellvent the Transcendent itself, or the Fledgling Imps. I think for now I'm still going to just do Fledgling Imp. I like the Transcendent just to be a one-time powerful burst in this deck, and if I do find Endless at this point, I would actually just put it on Transcendent, because I can power him up plenty, you know, if he's getting 3 Fledgling Imps per turn, it's a pretty good deal. And again, I could almost certainly take this, but in the interest of, you know, you're a new player and whatnot, you don't know the power level, I would just look up here and be like, well, I've got a lot of gold. Do I really need more gold? I don't really need it, so let's not risk it, right? Let's do our due diligence and set up top. Now we have these, which we're probably going to want to play here, but we may as well just play this to see what we get. Like here, look at that. Now I can put this Pyre Chomper down. Now, granted, I will trigger Harvest on this Overcharge tank. This is an annoying unit. He gains a bunch of armor whenever your unit or even his units die. But we can be fine probably here just to put these imps here. We're going to put this one here. We're going to use this to kill all of that. And we can put one of these down to get that rage. And then we can just put all of the rest of this into our backliner. And then we'll have this Fledgling Imp for another turn. Alright, now we can do a few things here actually. So I could torch this guy. That might be the smart thing to do. Or, I mean, if I look at my guy, I'm gonna kill this guy, right? Like, I do 38 by 2, but keep in mind, Rail Beater, I also didn't really explain what Rail Beater, the melee weakness portion, so he applies melee weakness on hit, which means he's essentially almost triple striking, if you think about it. Like, his second attack is gonna do double damage, so he actually does 38 by 3, in a sense. So that's definitely should be enough to kill this guy when you combine the fact that we're going to hit him with spikes and the Fledgling Imp. So I don't know if I necessarily need to clear out the dude this turn. I could either way. I mean, yeah, we might as well. So why don't we do this? We have this hidden passage. I want this gold. Torch is not enough to kill it, but hey, we can use it on enemies just the same as we can use it on our own guys. Now we're going to get that gold. And I'm going to clear out the space here, and I could do this, or I could wait for another Fledgling Imp. I think I want to wait for another Fledgling Imp, but I'll still do this just to, you know, I'll prevent the Harvest here by doing that, giving him armor, and for my Transcendent, I just have the armor ready now since I triggered the summon. So we could just put this down now if we thought we needed to, but I think I want to be a little bit greedy here and power it up a little bit more before we play it. Might as well try to get the full value out of it if you can. Let's go ahead and just torch that guy so he doesn't damage us. Alright, so we redrew into our deck and found Transcendent kind of immediately here. I could wait for the other Fledgling Imp. I think we don't need to be that greedy though. Let's go ahead and just play it here. I should have, that was a misplay too. I could have got more armor if I simply played this first. You know, I could have had 40 armor here. Oops. Happens. Let's go ahead and clear out some backlaners. If you can clear out the backlaners before they get to you, it's generally a good call. You don't want to take unnecessary damage, right? Not a whole lot to do here. I mean, we'll do the same thing. Clear out another backliner. We're clearing everything out. We can stack a little bit of regen on our frontliner. But we have so much armor that the heal really isn't that relevant. And I think we can still clear out this guy and put down another Fledgling Imp. It did trigger that guy Harvest, but it ended up not really mattering, so we don't care too much. Now this boss is a great example of why you do need a good tank a lot of the time. Like he's a dude that can do some damage. You know, 20 damage is nothing to scoff at. At the higher covenants it gets even more ridiculous. Now we won't clear this imp since we're actually, knowing what we have in the deck, we have no more imps left, so you might as well let that one sit. And it's a kill. But you'll notice even with that pretty powerful scaled up floor, he got pretty close to killing the Sentient. Restoring Retreat is basically the opposite of Hidden Passage. It's a worse card, I would say, because generally Ascend is more useful. Tough to really explain why that is in this video, but you're just going to have to take my word on it. Plus, this just costs 2 Ember for whatever reason. That being said, it's not an untakeable card. A lot of times I am looking for this card if I am really wanting to overstack a floor. But in general, it just doesn't make sense in this deck. This is a good example of probably a skip. I mean, we could take Shard Channeler if we wanted our, if we needed our Spikes Sentient, you know, our champion, to really deal a lot of Spikes damage. We could take this, but I am pretty confident in our Rage scaling as being our main damage source here. And in general, I just don't think Shard Channeler is that good. Well, we could take another imp in a box, but I think at this point we can start thinking about, we can start banking that hopefully we're going to get Endless on one of these imps, and at that point important work becomes very nice. It's an easy way to clear the imp out of the floor, gain Ember, and draw. I mean, it's a really, really powerful card in any imp deck. Probably the best spell you can have. So let's go ahead and try and find Endless or another multi-strike on our dude. Well, we found the multi-strike, so that's good. We now are going to gain a ton of damage, because now it's like that melee weakness, we're going to benefit from it twice now. That's a lot of damage. And we'll re-roll here, try to find Endless. We didn't find it, it happens. Hopefully we'll find it, if not, we're going to be fine. Now if we have Pyre health to spare, you might as well lose it, right? Get the gold. And we definitely have a lot to spare here. So we've got a lot of gold just sitting. That's fine. At the end of the... there's always, at the very least, there will always be a Merchant of Trinkets at the very end that you can really pour all your gold into. So there's not necessarily sense in just throwing gold away just to throw it away. So we'll set up top. We prefer damage over defense, I would say. We can probably just kill this right here instead of playing that Welder Helper, and then we'll just keep buffing up our backliner. This is kind of the idea with Tank and Spank. Just now we can see the important work, do some good things. Let's go ahead and get as many of these into play as we can. And why don't we just bring you back up so we can hit you again. Another nice thing about these big bosses, you know, the Ring 3 you'll have Talos or Daedalus. Ring 6 you'll have Fel or Arcus. And this whichever variant of Seraph at the end. Since they're always on the floors, you can use Ascend and Descend to really put in extra damage on them, which really makes it easier once Relentless comes around, and that you didn't have to scale quite as much since you're getting in those extra hits of damage. Well, I could be greedy for the one Fledgling Imp here. I think we don't need to be. Let's go ahead and just power everybody up here. There's also the Imp in a box, so maybe I could have waited. But in general, I don't think it was that needed. Now, another thing to note here is this guy gains armor on incant. So I don't want to unnecessarily play spells here. Like, I could play this here and he would gain armor. I could play it here and this guy would gain armor. I could play it here and it would be fine. But let's say there was, for whatever reason, another one of these guys down here. Well, there's always an option to just play spells like this in your pyre room itself and avoid any type of those incant triggers. I think that's a pretty useful trick to have in the book. Now, I could play these imps out, but there's really not a huge benefit to that right now, I would say. We might as well just put extra scaling on our backliner. Remember, our Transcendent has already been played, so we're not too worried about like powering up imps and whatnot. I'll still do this probably, though. I mean, why not? I have one more Welder Harper on the way, so I will clear this out. Now, this Glimmer doesn't have any upgrades, so it's not going to be able to really do much here. We're continuing to give this guy armor, but at this point, there's no real point. I could put 3 regen on here, but at the amount of armor I have, there's really no point to that. We can just like put in a little bit of damage here for the heck of it. Alright, and, you know, not a whole lot to do here. I mean, I guess I could do this, save myself some damage. Chump block is what this is called. Sometimes you just want to put imps or with some just kind of token type unit in front where they just eat up damage instead of your actual tank taking damage. Could be a nice thing to do in some cases. I could even put the Welder Helper in front, but I think we're better off putting them here because we do want those spikes to, you know, get their damage worth. And we'll just go ahead and start stacking regen. I mean, we're gonna win. If you look at the guy's health, he's not in a very good spot. In fact, I wouldn't recommend doing this when you're learning the game, but just to speed things up, so to speak, we'll ascend him on up. There's really no advantage to me doing that, unless of course I was going for score. If you're going for score, daily challenges and whatnot, you would want to do that to get, you know, a faster boss rush and get more score. So at this point, I mean, I could take a channel song if I wanted to like pull the imps out a little more consistently. The problem there is they would gain extra health, so I could not torch them to death. Impalate's fine, it's 90 damage. Cycle of Life, maybe. I think we skip here, though. This kind of falls back to, like, when I look at my deck, I just kind of have better stuff. I have a game plan here that's working. These don't really add to the game plan in a meaningful way, so I think you might as well skip here. Now, we could do an extra pip. That would make it a little easier to put more imps on the floor. That's certainly an option. When you have an imp-based deck, that is often okay, you know, adding capacity. And in fact, why don't we do that? You'd be fine to just take draw here as well, but let's go ahead and just do this just to illustrate the potential benefits we get from it. And I think we're going to keep just sort of hunting for the endless here. And we got the multi-strike. I mean, we could be funny and just put it on one of these, right? But no real point to that. So no endless happens. I think at this point we can just get rid of these restores. There's not much more removals I really want to do to this deck, though. Like, and there's the explosive. Definitely at this point, definitely just go all in on your champ path. There's no point in taking a minor explosive benefit there. This is should be pretty takeable. Generally, if you can take this trial, you should. It's 400 gold. That's a lot of gold. So here we're already seeing we're reaping the benefits of our pip upgrade, because before we couldn't play both here. Now we can. So we're already getting our scaling faster. And like I said, I do think that offense is better than defense in a general sense. Not that you can just completely ignore the defense, but in this case, you know, we got a lot of health on these Gilded Wings here, so we want to get our scaling up as much as possible. I will say, though, 2 rage, probably not that relevant. I'd rather be greedy here and get that, and just get that, yeah. I'll try to cycle back into the spike and get a better proc on it at some point, hopefully. So we're killing them, which is good. This is not the greatest imp in a box. Let's go ahead and clear this out. I think at this point, since I've already played my imp in a box and I've played all my fledgling imps, I don't really need the armor for my welder helpers. I'm just going to go ahead and play the Transcendent. And we can just keep the heals here to keep our Sentient alive, really. And we can go ahead and play these out so that we don't keep redrawing into them. We'll keep putting the scaling there, get a little bit of heals there. These torches aren't going to do much when they have 20 armor. And we've got a choice here. I could get a big one of these, but if you'll notice, I'm already clearing out the floors, so what I need here actually is defense. So even though I did say offense is generally better, we might as well just spend our Ember and keep that guy alive. We can throw that guy out so we don't redraw into him. Living armor, this is a good example of a boss. If you see the X mark on, you want to hit end turn. You can easily screw yourself out of a win by like messing with the formula, because he gains attack on revenge. That means every time he gets hit, he'll gain attack, right? We don't really need to do this. We could just do it down here, though. That's fine. And, again, we'll just heal that. Now, we could just ascend here. We might as well. So we'll go ahead and ascend him on up. That way he doesn't have the double striker in the back. And we'll just pour all of this into our backliner, and it should be an easy win there. Now, Adaptive Mutation is an interesting one. If you have a rage-based build, you should almost always take this, in my opinion. I don't think Pyrocharge is very good, and again, I don't really think Wildwood Custodian is good. Adaptive Mutation, if you have rage, is incredibly good. I would actually say Tiresome Climb is pretty good too. It's when you enable the DLC, this becomes a like god tier card. I'm not huge on the other cards in this deck. I think we're probably fine to take a Tiresome Climb anyway. It's just another Ascend card that we can use to our advantage. I think I'm going to go this route. We got the Hellvent anyway. If we miss on Endless again, I'll probably check the Merchantess Trinkets first though, just see what we get. Wing Clipping is probably good here. Keep in mind, we're facing Diligent. The first spell we play each turn is going to be devoured, so this would give it a 50% chance not to be devoured, which I think is a good thing. This could be pretty okay, right? I don't generally like this artifact, but since we're full Spike Sentient, why not just get like extra damage from the spikes, right? Boon I don't really like here. We could take a Pyro Roll. Root Split Mask is fine too. This is a very powerful artifact. We probably don't need it, but I'm going to take it just because it's pretty good. Consume Crown. Let's remember, 200 gold for each of those. We'll see what... Oh, there we go. Endless. So with this deck, I would say Transcendent we should put on Endless, because once we power it up, we just want like all of that coming in each turn. So that's pretty good. We don't need any other upgrades now. We might as well just probably buy... We could buy both these. We could also remove cards, but like I said, I don't have much I need to remove, so let's just get that. And the health... And we could just Hellvent, honestly, the Endless Transcendent. Although that's, it's not actually that needed. I think I honestly might just keep Hellventing the Fledgling Imp. Either that or the Imp in a Box. Or the Adaptive Mutation. Adaptive Mutation is not bad either. Maybe let's do the Imp in a Box. Just up, there's so many things we could Hellvent there. I just want to power up my Transcendent, and that another Imp in a Box probably helps a lot with that. Plus, keep in mind, they 50% of the time come back into the deck now. So this is another one where I have some decisions to make. Diligent's a bit annoying to set up top against because of these purifiers. I also don't really have any spells that can kill the purifier before it gets to me, other than Tiresome Climb kind of works for it. So I could go bottom and try to just eliminate these purifiers. Unfortunately, though, even with the pretty good setup I have here, I probably wouldn't kill this Gilded Wing, right? So it's, you know, this would give me 10 damage. I'd be doing, what is that? 20 by 3. So it's essentially, what it is essentially is 20 the first time and then 40, 40. So 80, it does 100 damage. I do 40 spikes damage to him. He'll have 20 health left over. It's actually probably fine. We've got some pyre armor. You know what? Let's do it. Let's just set up down here. I don't want these purifiers shuffling scourges into my deck. And actually, I even did my math wrong because I didn't factor in the rage I would get from both of these. So I actually am killing this. Now with Diligent, he kind of has a nice effect in some cases because it's like the Glimmer isn't that great in my deck, right? So I'm fine actually consuming it. So it's out of the deck, that's fine. We scale you up. Now he's gonna put in Light Wings at other floors. It's a bit annoying, but we can maybe deal with it. Like here, for example, and I'm gonna wait on the adaptive. So just to outline why adaptive is so good with rage is, you know, I get the 10 attack here. Adaptive takes that 10 attack I'm getting from rage into factors. So you'll notice the health 13. This would up me up to 25 health while not actually taking off my damage that much. So it's swapping attack and health. Now at 5 rage you don't really see much benefit. We'll wait on it. When I have enough rage going and we draw back into this, it's going to look a lot better. So we've got some options here. This only does 1 damage. I've got 15 pyre armor. I'm probably just going to let that tickle me. I think what I want to do is put the Fledgling Imp here, because right now Transcendent only gets us 1 Fledgling Imp anyway, unless we put the Fledgling here and put the Transcendent down here. But the thing is, if I put Transcendent here, this guy will kill it, and I actually want that to happen because I want him to come back next turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put him there and then put him there. He'll die, and that's what I want. I want him back next turn because I want to really be able to like get a good rage turn. Here's actually a great example of Root Split Mask doing some good work. Like they're both rooted, so they're going to stay there, and I can maybe like, you know, just do some stuff up there. So we probably will do that because it looks like we unfortunately did not draw any of our torches or important work to clear out our imps down here, so I can't really play them down there. So what I'm going to do is do this and probably this. We'll just have to draw back into Transcendent. It's fine. This way I have these imps up here to kill these. And I guess we might as well do this if it's going to consume, then we'll do that. We do need to start thinking about getting some heals pretty quick though. That Awake really needs to get played on Sentient. Now these are, almost all of these are consumed, so you might as well play one of them first. Let's see what we get here. Okay, I'm just going to play these up here, I think. Now my Transcendent's going to gain all of that Ember every time it's played, by the way. Let's go ahead and clear one of these out. I want to give some more rage here. I'm actually going to put the Steel Enhancer, sorry, I can't talk. I should have actually put the Imp in front, that was a mistake. But I'm going to put the Steel Enhancer here because I really don't want this guy to die if I can help it, right? If he dies, he dies. I'll have chump blockers. Let's see. Let's clear both of these out, I think. Well, no, let's keep one of them. Let's keep that one. Let's draw. Unfortunate, but whatever. We're doing okay. That armor really gave us some extra buffer room there. So I have options where I could put this. I could put it there. I don't actually gain much there. I actually lose a little bit of damage. I just gain a bunch of health. But here, yeah, I guess the adaptive isn't super great here. Let's play this first and see how that changes things. So now it's looking okay. Like I would technically heal even though my overall health goes down to 99. I'm at 34 health anyway right now, so it's a nice heal, but then my damage goes to 203. Or I could just do this. I lose a minor amount of damage, but I get a ton of health, which that could be good too. I think I'm actually going to do it here. I don't know. Should I do that? Nah. Let's not even. Let's try to be greedy and get like a better one off. And what else can we do? We can do. We can start stacking days on either of these guys. Like I could do that. That works. Not much else to do. Alright, we got that Transcendent again. We might as well start with Infinite Box. Power it up with potentially something, right? So we can do that. We can do this. As long as we have 2 Ember, we'll play it just fine. I'm getting more Rage this way. So let's put him in... I don't think I want to put him in front. Problem with if I put him in front, he is going to be the one that gains all the armor here. So we're better off putting him in back, even though we can't kill him this turn. And we can just do a nice heal there, put some good damage in there. And we see the X marks, so we're happy. Let's go ahead and just see which... So now we really start to see the adaptive mutation pay off. Like, he's at 167 attack with 67 health. I could bring him to 263 attack and 167 health. This guy's at 194 and 22 health. I could bring him to 186 by 194 health. I'm going to go ahead and put it here. I think that's where I get the most value out of it. And that's the run. Tank and Spank. Hopefully that was helpful. Remember the idea... Hopefully I illustrated it there. You know, you just get a tank. It doesn't have to be sentient, by the way. Like, this can work with any old tank. Right? It could have been an Awoken Hollow or a Thorned Hollow, or it could have been a Rail Beater even. And then you could have Animus Will in the back, right? Just the key is get a unit that makes sense as a tank, get a unit that makes sense as a backline damage dealer, and you know, that will be kind of what you need to do. We used Fledgling Imps to scale in this scenario, but that doesn't have to be it. That's just it's a very solid one. You're good to definitely do that, but you know, there's a lot of other options. There's weak options. Like I think Spike of the Hellhorn Rage Serum, those are kind of weak options. The real strong ones you want to be on the lookout for are Dark Deal. Anything that just has higher rage numbers, right? Like Dark Deal has rage 7. That's pretty good for 0 Ember. Deranged Brute, even a Branded Warrior, pretty good with it. Apex Imp, but really like, where is it? Where is Ritual of Battle? Right here, Ritual of Battle. That's like your bread and butter. That one, we didn't see it here, but you're gonna see it more often than you don't. And that is such a strong, just easy thing. You can, like I said, get it down to 1 Ember as fast as possible. Hit those Merchant Magics up, and you can just place it on your backliner, and they'll have a ton of damage. Inflame, you could also use. It's not as good. I mean, if you compare the two, it's like 4 rage versus 10 rage. Just really don't care about the armor that much with Inflame, so Ritual is really a lot better than an Inflame. But yeah, hopefully that was useful. As always, I got more advanced guides on my channel for when you wanna level up to the more higher covenants. But I think this type of strategy can really get you through most of the early game, the early covenants. Let me know your thoughts, and until next time, peace.